Welcome, bet riders around the world. My name is Gary Solomon, and you're watching the Laidback Bike Report. Hey, we are so excited to have you guys with us today for the Laidback Bike Report. Great show in store. Let me tell you what's coming up on today's webcast. First of all, from the Czech Republic, we have Honza Galla, actually via video, with the Recumbent.News in 5 minutes, we're calling it. Honza has been designated as our new news director. We're very excited to have him, so we'll look forward to that. We have a very special guest, Per Hassel Sorenson from Norway. He is the CEO of Podbike, and he's going to be with us to tell us about that amazing velomobile, and look forward to talking with Per on that. We have our pal Larry Varney with us. He recently posted a review of an Ice Ultimate Sprint X on Bent Rider this past week, and he's going to go over that review and answer any questions you might have about that Ultimate collection from Ice. And our sports director, Denny Voorhees, is back with us with a sports report, and we will have a few announcements for you as well towards the end of the show. But before we get to that, let me introduce my wonderful crew. Guys, come on up here and say hello. First of all, our director today from Colorado Springs, it's Larry Seidman. Hello, Larry.
Hello.
Good to have you with us. And I know you got your hands full today. So let's move on to Jackson, Mississippi. It is our media guy, Trey Burgoyne. Hiya, Trey.
Howdy ho, folks.
Burgoyne.
Thank you for that. And that was Sayre, Pennsylvania with the Burgoyne sound. That's our sports director. And hello, Denny Voorhees.
Hey, hi, how you doing? Finally have something to report on this month.
Yeah, I know it's been a little few and far between, so we're glad to have you back with us, Denny. And down in Cold Spring, Kentucky, we talked about what Larry's going to do a little bit later on. He's also going to moderate, I think, on chat. Larry Varney, hello, Larry.
Hi, good to be here. Glad to see everyone again.
It's great to have you with us as always, Larry. And down in Texas, Big D, it is Mr. Wizard himself. It's Doug Davis. Hiya, Doug.
Hey, Gary. Good to see you.
It's great to have you with us as well. So there's the crew, folks. Now, I would like, if you would, to participate in the live chat. Now, live chat would be something that it allows you to interact with us and really makes the show more meaningful for you and for us. So get on the live chat. We have live chat available on YouTube and on Facebook. So make sure that you take advantage of that and let us know where you are watching from. We always like to see that. So do that. Now, you can support the Laidback Bike Report, and we are so appreciative when you do. How can you do it? You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a new thing that YouTube's trying out, and we are on a beta test of it, I guess. If you like what we do and you want to throw a couple bucks our way, right next to the thumbs up, thumbs down thing on YouTube, there's an applause button. You can click that and you can throw a couple bucks our way from that. And of course, if you want to find out more about the Laidback Bike Report, the little white eye popping up over there will take you right to our website. So do that. And if you really want to help out, the best way to do that, like these guys did with the orange P there that you see, those are our Patreon supporters. So hop on patreon.com, look up the Laidback Bike Report, or check that link that we'll put in the show notes below. Guys, this show is sponsored by TerraCycle, makers of exquisite recumbent parts and accessories for your bent, and Trailside Trikes, a fine recumbent trike shop on the Withlacoochee Trail in Florida, and Cruise Bike, designed for the cyclist who wants to ride farther, climb faster, and adventure more. All cruise bikes and frame sets ship free in the USA. And TerraTrike. Wherever your ride leads, TerraTrike has a trike to take you there. Now, including KMX carts and green speed. How much fun can you handle? And the Hostel Shop, America's premier recumbent dealer with the largest variety of recumbents, parts, and accessories in stock and ready to ship to your door. All right, guys, so let's get the show on the road. First of all, as I told you in the opening, we are very excited to have our pal Honza Galla as our new news director, and he will sometimes be with us in the show. Sometimes he won't be able to, but will provide a news report via video. And that is how we're going to kick it off today. He's prepared a really interesting report. I think you guys will enjoy lots of interesting stuff in it. So, Larry, when you're ready, let's hear from Honza.
Hello, Gary. Hello, everybody. I'm very glad that I can be part of your Laidback Bike Report today, bringing you the latest news from the recumbent world. It's an honor for me to be in this role, and I hope I will do it in the future as well and bring you the latest news, as I said. So let's jump into it. The first news is kind of sad. NASCAR, the Dutch producer of recumbent two-wheelers, announced that they are canceling production of their single bikes, recumbent bikes, the Gaucho, Pioneer, and so on, and they are continuing to produce just the Quetzal tandem. And now some of the better news. Probably the most visible was HP Velotechnic introducing their Ergo Mesh Seat Premium, which is highly padded, highly comfortable seat for their trikes. It has a very nice feature of allowing you to adjust the angle between the part where you sit and the back of the seat. It's kind of similar to the ICE Ergolux seat, but additionally with this nice feature. Another news from Germany is Hase. They introduced the new version of their very popular Pinot. The main feature which has been added is the telescopic frame. So you can make the bike longer or shorter, or you can make it even very short, so it can fit on a bike rack, on a hitch of the car, as a standard bike, which is a very nice advantage and very good feature. Another news, Shimano introduced their new top model of the electric engine, the Steps EP8 now. It has 85 Newton meters of torque, 250 watts for European Union. It's lighter, smaller, quieter, and we expect some of the recumbent producers, mainly those from Europe, will have it available for the next season. Kind of controversial is the Canyon future mobility concept, a velomobile introduced by a big German bike producer. They are a producer of upright bikes, but they stepped into the recumbent world kind of and introduced this concept where you can carry also your child in the bag or some cargo. They expect it to have 2000 watts engines. One will power the bike up to 60 kilometers per hour, and one will be just till 25 kilometers per hour, which is the limit for electric bicycles in Europe. And then you can use it on cycling roads and cycling passes and so on. Very interesting project. And the last one is which I saved for you. I've spent my family vacation in Netherlands this year. With my cousin Evina Jacobs. She is a wife of Allard Jacobs, co-owner of Velomobile NL, and I had the chance to see their new creation, a Snook. Velomobile, very small, very light, and it is super fast. I will have more information about this velomobile, which is going to be produced soon on my webpage, Recumbent.News, tomorrow for you. Include some of the amazing average speeds Eva could make with it, and a lot of photos, some videos, so stay tuned. Thank you for your invitation once again, and have a nice rest of the Laidback Bike Report.
There he was. Honza, thank you so much. That was a wonderful report. The Snoog. Wow. First of all, let me pop Peter up here. Peter, hello. We a late arriving Peter Stoll, folks. I just wanted to say hi, and you'll be here for the show.
Yep, I'll be here. Look forward to it.
All right, we will send you back then. Thank you, Peter. And Doug, maybe we'll talk more about that Snoog a little bit later on too. That was kind of interesting looking velomobile. I don't see what your opinion on that is. In any case, at this point, let's move on to our main segment. I have a very special guest to introduce to you. Per Hassel Sorenson is an engineer from Norway who has designed an environmentally friendly velomobile meant for mass production. I first sat in a pod bike at Spezi in 2017. It was really an interesting experience, and I was taken by its sleek and futuristic design and also the very practical features that it had. So Per joins us today to talk about Podbike's past, present, and its future. Really interesting concept, folks. I think you're going to like. So let's bring Per up here. Hello, Per. How are you today?
Hello, I'm fine, and thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. So I can't wait to get our hands dirty here talking about everything that goes into the pod bike. If we can, though, I'd like to maybe start with the history of the pod bike concept. So can you give us, there's an interesting story I know you tell about how this all came about, a kind of personal story. Can you tell that to our viewers?
Yes, I sure can. Just come with a very quick correction. You called me the CEO. I think our CEO is not so happy with that. I'm the technical manager and not the CEO. Sorry.
Oh, I promoted you. I apologize and apologize to the CEO for me.
No problem. This all started with a bang. I was out riding a regular bike, a two-wheeler without electric assist, in the first working day of 2009. So it was in the winter, very dark, and there was a car that cut the corner coming towards me and didn't see me, and suddenly he was just in my path, and he was going to his left, so he was crossing my path then, and I had actually started to reduce my speed, so I crashed into him, very low speed, but still I almost broke my neck and I crushed my knee. Maybe 8 miles per hour or around 12 kilometers per hour. And I really got scared. So I didn't dare ride a regular bike due to this. And I knew about velomobiles. So I bought a kit from the Netherlands, the Alleveder. And it came with, I think it was 1,000 blind rivets. So it took some time to put it together. And I started to use it here in Norway. But it was without electric assist. So I, as a professional product developer, saw I saw a few easy targets of making it better. So the first was to add a motor, but then it escalated. So that's what we have here today. That is 10 years of development work. I didn't know it was this hard.
That's great. All right, let's drop back to the actual development then. So You'll have to clarify this for me. So at some point you went on to do a master's thesis at a local university there. And that was that after this accident, Per?
Yeah.
And,
One year after the 1 year after I started using the velomobile, I started on a master thesis in sustainable energy. And that is mainly wind turbines. It is efficiency of hydroelectric power. It is how to get more solar cells into the grid, etc. And then I asked my professor, who's a very brilliant man, and asked him, can I write about a more sustainable use of the energy? More focusing on the usage side of sustainability than the production side, because this study was mainly on the production side.
Yeah, let's take a look at that master's thesis. Trey, go ahead and pop that next one. We'll come back to that one. There we go. Okay, go ahead, Per.
Yeah, this is the end result. It's only around 80 pages, but it is about 300 pages of appendixes. So if you're really into the technical details, you should also read the appendix. But this is actually a manual on how to make a velomobile for practical use, not those high-speed ones or those that runs purely on muscle power, but the ones that most people should be able to use without getting sweaty.
Okay, this will be the perfect point then, I think, to cover some of the salient points in this thesis that had, I believe, everything to do with the problems you were trying to solve when you started thinking and developing this velomobile that became the Podbike, right? So can we start by talking about the problems that you wanted to solve with this production, or this design, I should say?
Yeah, there's one thing, and that is the use of the tadpole construction, which is a very good compromise between complexity and the need for stability on an embodied bike. So I was going quite fast down a hill, and I didn't know there was ice on the ground. This was in the spring, quite late spring, and still when I started to use the brakes, the vehicle twisted sideways and I rolled it twice in my elevator. But then I got so embarrassed because I was lying there on the side in the middle of the street, and I was thinking, I hope nobody saw this. And just a few seconds after, I thought, wow, I'm unharmed. I was going down here in high speed and I'm completely unharmed. This is excellent. I should have filmed this. So it changed from being very embarrassed to, wow, this was an eureka moment. And I thought, okay, the velomobile really protects you. It really certainly does. And we can make it even better by adding a fourth wheel.
Yeah, to add that stability and less chance for humiliation in a crash situation or rolling over,
exactly.
Right?
Because everyone have seen the Mr. Bean films when he's joking around with this British car with three-wheeler that always tip over. They do the same in Mr. Clarkson does it in the Top Gear series in the past before he got fired. So all this, you really need four-wheel unless you're willing to sacrifice going downhill fast and braking at the same time and turning. Okay. That's if you avoid those combinations, a trike may work fine, but I would like something that is a little bit more stable. And there's another benefit. With four wheels, you can actually save space, because otherwise you will have at least on the tadpole, you have the rear wheel just in your back. And we wanted a velomobile where we could fit a child as well. So having a wheel in each corner gives you more real estate inside the vehicle.
Right. Now, tell me, that gets into what I was trying to get to a little bit earlier. So give me some other ideas about the goals of this development. So certainly the sustainable transportation and enough room for cargo or a child, say, in the back for a second person, and safety. You've touched on that. What other goals were in mind as we
the goals or call it limitation to design freedom, because that's what it really is. We had a limitation on the cost. The target cost is 5,000 euros, around $6,000, I think. And the material used should be fully reusable. We did not accept to use what's called thermoset composites, like carbon fiber or glass fiber embedded in epoxy or polyester. We had to use either thermoplastic or other materials that are easy to reuse, remelt, and use again, like aluminium or aluminum. And we also try to keep the mass so low that you can tilt it up and park it on its tail. And to do that, the target is to be able to lift it, the front, with maximum 25 kilos should the load be in the front there, or 250 newtons should be sufficient to lift the front end. And another thing there, yes, there to the right, you see a mock-up we made for the Hannover Messe last year. And in the center is the first prototype with a body. And to the left there is the that was the first four-wheeler we made that was working with the also with the series hybrid. And the series hybrid is not something we have directly chosen. The series hybrid was selected due to the complexity of the mechanical transfer of pedal power from front-mounted pedals to rear-mounted driven wheels.
So this is the series hybrid is what you're saying, and this has to do with the motor, right? This is what you're talking about, the nature of this motor, which we need to get into here. Okay, we'll get into more detail, of course, with that. Any other design considerations that we've missed before we get into?
There's a lot of them.
Because I know you looked at what's out there, of course.
So I really tested.
This is important. Go ahead and let's talk about this.
First of all, this is not competing with existing velomobiles made by Katanga and Velomobile NL and all these very magnificent vehicles, hand built, and they're beautiful. And if you love them, you should use them as much as possible because they are great. But they will not be accepted by the silent majority. They will not be accepted by most people because they are not practical enough, I'm sorry to say. But they are magnificent for training, exercise, and for those who really like to go very high speed. Because if you add the assist, etc., it's normally reduce the top speed of a velomobile. However, to make something that is producible in high volumes and that is acceptable as a bike within the current legislation, at least in Europe, and at the same time function practical for most people, then we need to have something that is not claustrophobic. So if you try this Podbike velomobile, it is quite spacious inside compared to most other velomobiles. There's also a built-in room for a child just behind the main seat. And it has a width of, we wanted it to be less than 80 centimeters because that's a round fine number. And we found out that's stretching the limit of our design department and also the budget, because it increased the cost so much to do that. And it also was hard to achieve with the very limited material selection we had decided. And we now have a max width of 84 centimeters. So 83 point something.
Per, I just wanted to, I was talking with your assistant Janet earlier, and she did want to have you give credit for some of these pictures.
Yes.
So you might want to, before we forget. Let's go
these
ahead.
are
They're
taken
beautiful.
By our my old friend Kenneth McDowell, who also had a drone. I don't know if we have the video here, but
we will see that
later.
video later on for sure. Mm-hmm. So that was his as well.
So
okay.
And these pictures also taken by him.
Great.
Kenneth McDowell. Yeah.
All right. So so we're almost through these. These are some of the latest that you've produced then?
These are the second prototype series with body. We made a series of 12 bikes all in all, and 10 of those are complete with body, and the rest is being used for laboratory testing, qualification testing, fatigue testing, and also for training.
Very good.
This is the first one with body, and this is my daughter Malene, who's out test riding it near the beach in near Stavanger, Norway.
Very nice. Okay, yeah, it's honestly, you didn't mention this as part of the features to make it attractive to the average person, but it's very attractive, I think, to most anyone. The design is beautiful, as anyone can plainly see. So, all right, let's start talking more specifically about the pod bike itself. And the way it was and how we got to where it is today, if we can. So we have a few videos that we will have a look at, mostly talk over. And I guess, something that almost anybody who is watching this program would like to know is like, what's it like inside to ride in a pod bike? So I'll remind you, Per, to unmute yourself as the video starts, and I'll let you talk through this one. We have a little video of that. And Larry, whenever you're ready, go ahead and show that riding in the pod bike.
This is very close to where we have our workshop. And you can see the pedaling, and you can also see the windscreen wiper. It's a manual windscreen wiper. That is to reduce the wear on the plastic windscreen. And it's you have a perfect view inside. It's just like riding inside a jet fighter cockpit. And you can in the front also see there's a small fan there. You see the lures in the top of the fan housing. So here you can see he pedals a little bit faster to go uphill. There is automatic control of the energy transfer, and there will be some adjustment of the pedal assist load. This is the first prototype windscreen wiper, so it's a little bit floppy. And the mirrors will be adjustable from the inside in the production version. You really struggle to adjust the mirrors from inside. You need to have some elastic arms to do that.
Right. Not everybody has elastic arms, something that I'm sure someone is working on. But all right. So that was basically the first version that we talked about. And so early on, you had made just a few of these, and you had some test pilots, right, that were out there trying things on. And so what I want to ask you, well, Larry, if you can play the showing love to the pod bike. It's a very short video, and then we'll talk about those test pilots. So clearly an attachment is easily formed to the pod bike. So tell us who that was. Tell us about the early riders and what you learned.
Yeah, this was our first test rider. He got his bike in December last year, and he was in and out of the workshop because there were some early issues that we needed to iron out. and it took about a couple of weeks before everything was really stable. And then we waited for 1 week, and then we started to send out the other test bikes to the other pilots. And he rides about 35 kilometers every day, back and forth to work, and he does not spare his bike. So he's been a very good tester for us, and he also knows, he's a German engineer and knows quite well about technicality and give us very good feedback.
Okay, so let's explore that a little bit before we get into the actual details of the current pod bike, and we'll talk about those. So with the test rides that you had, I know this was a process that took a number of years to get to where we are now, between then and now. Can you just give us the highlights of some of the things, I guess some of the things you thought would work out great, but maybe didn't, and maybe some of the changes that you made that you can talk about?
Yeah, there's one thing. I worked with a company in the Netherlands called Alight, with making the wheels, and I thought I had a very nice interface for the wheel centers, because Alight makes the plastic spokes and the rim, but the center is something we had developed, and we believe this was super good. And after a month or two, the wheel centers started to fracture. They were made of stainless steel, and they were simply not fatigue resistant enough to survive the sideway loads these kind of wheels are exposed to on a four-wheeler. You know, in a normal single track vehicle with two wheels, you have almost no sideway load. You have a little bit when you are sprinting, because then you have a person really pedaling hard, but most of the time the wheels, they see mostly loads that is without sideway forces. And when you put normal bike wheels onto a velomobile of a 3 or 4-wheeler, they see much more load, so the spokes, they start to crack. So I started to talk to a guy, Leo Fischer, at the light at Spezi in 2013, and I said I really need a better wheel, and we did a gentleman's agreement that we make a joint venture, and I started to design the wheel and did a lot of stress simulations, etc. And he did the visualization check that it looks cool, and he also took the funding of the tooling, because it's quite expensive tooling. So that is why you see this wheel is sold also not only used on the Podbike velomobile, but also by other velomobile and quad makers in Europe.
Very nice. So that worked out well. Okay.
But we have a different hub now than that we started out with.
Okay.
I have to admit that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are plenty of changes. Any other ones come to mind before we move on?
Yeah, the seat, we have now quite much side force. You can go very fast in corners with our vehicle, but not too fast. Then you might tip over, but you can go quite fast. And we discovered that the normal recumbent seats, they do not have sufficient side support. So first we extended the seat in the front, but that was not enough. So now we made a completely new seat with a lot of side support. So that will be in the new bike.
Very nice. All right. So I think since you mentioned the new bike, that's the current bike. Let's move on here and start talking about some details. I don't know. Do you want to head on down to the floor for this, or do you want to answer some questions here, and then we'll take a look at what we've talked about? Maybe we'll stay here for a little bit.
We can stay here for a little bit more, and then we can maybe take a short break. You have some sponsors you maybe want to show,
and then you can go down to do that. We can probably do that.
I need to swap these into.
Yeah, you need to make a few changes. Understood. Yeah. All right. So first of all, you mentioned a little bit about the width and how important it was for you to decide about that. Can you give us the dimensions, the basic dimensions of the pod bike?
It's the length is 236 centimeters, 2.36 meters. The width is 84 centimeters, and the height is about 1.20. It varies a bit because you have adjustable shocks and you have people with different mass. So the weight varies between 112 centimeters and 120, somewhere between there.
The mass? Wait.
People have different weight. So the compression in the rear varies. In the rear, we have a much larger ground clearance than in the front.
Right.
So you have much more variation there, and you can also tune the height there quite a lot. The dampers, the coilovers that we use, they have much larger compression range in the rear than in the front.
Okay, so now the mass, the weight of the pod bike?
Yeah, the total, the current prototypes, they are about around 80 kilos, 82 to 78, depends on tires, etc.
Sure.
But the target is to get it less than 70, which is hard. We might not achieve it.
Right. I know the weight is something you've had in mind from the very beginning. You even mentioned that. So
yeah, because otherwise, if it's too heavy, you can't tilt it up on its tail, and that is something
that's like a minimum requirement that you really have set out.
Yeah, the first production series will not be able to be lifted on its tail because they will be lacking the elevator mechanism. The elevator mechanisms where you raise up the rear end. That gives you two benefits. One is that it's easier to get in and out of the velomobile. My father tried my elevator, so he's born in 1931, so he's around almost 90 years old now. And for about 10 years ago, when he was almost 80, he tried it. He got into the bike, but he could not get out. So we had to get a lot of neighbors and stuff to help us to get him out of the velomobile. So I thought, this is embarrassing. Let us avoid that for the pod bike velomobiles.
Right. Skyman had asked that question earlier. I was waiting for right by. Is it easy to get in and out of? And that's a crucial thing because you want to make this available and enticing for the average person, not someone who will squirm and squeeze themselves into a hatch like on a velomobile. And that's fine for many people, and there are advantages for that. But for what you're trying to achieve here, it needs to be easy to get in and out of, no doubt.
Yes. Right? So with the elevator installed, you lift the seat height to normal car seat height. We're not talking SUV, but we're talking normal car seat height. And you also have another benefit, and that is with the elevator, you can ride it at slow speed with elevated eye level, so you have better overview in crowded areas. Let's say in a crowded inner city, you can ride it at low speed with the bike in the maximum elevation position.
And what's the differential between the low and the high? Basically,
it's about 30 centimeters taller in the rear.
Wow, it's very significant. So. All right, very good. So, but now just to be clear, so people understand, that's not available yet on the pod bike, but this is part of the design concept, hopefully not too far future kind of thing.
We hope to have it available in Series 2, so in about 1.5 years, something like that.
Very good. All right, it is time to talk about the propulsion system, and there's a lot to this, and everyone's interested in this, I'm sure. We already had a bunch of questions about it. So what it says on the website is human-powered propulsion using no gears and chains. And so people want to know what that means. So tell us about this. Tell us about this motor and how the pedaling fits in without a chain. How does that work?
Yeah. Okay. Just a little bit summary of the elevator and most velomobile instructions. I have in the elevator a 4.2 meters, 420 centimeters of bicycle chain going from the front sprocket to all the way to the rear wheel. But that's quite elegant because it's routed through plastic tubes and a couple of pulleys, and it works However, when you have two wheels in the rear, you need to think of something called a differential. And we really wanted to bring down the center of gravity. And when you're sitting on top of your chain, it takes space. So there's another issue. Our bike is designed to incorporate people from or riders from 150 centimeters up to 2 meters, which is almost 99 percentile of the human population. So to do that, we need to easily adjust the distance between the seat and the pedals. And our since this is not only a velomobile to protect you against rain and wind, cold, etc., but also to protect you in case there is a different vehicle hitting you, or you happen to go outside the planned path and hitting something hard, you are actually inside a crash cage. There is a steel tube surrounding you in the arch just above your head and down on each side, and there's a tube just behind your back, and there's a tube just under the seat. And this is all, except from the one just behind your back, they're all stainless steel tubes. And if we had the seat, able to move that seat quite a lot back and forth, you will bring it out of this protected area. So we planned instead to move the pedal, and it's so much easier to move pedals that is connected to a generator where you can transfer the energy through electric wires instead of having to transfer it through mechanical chains or something. So that is one big reason for the series hybrid. It makes it so much easier to adapt different length of persons while maintaining a lightweight protective structure in the vehicle.
This really is a similar setup to, we had we had a gentleman on talking about the Electron, a Canadian a bike. It's a two-wheeler, but the motor also was this where you could pedal and you can add energy to the system, but not directly connected with the chain and stuff to the wheels. So interesting. Okay, now let's go ahead.
Sure. Another thing is that we have two rear wheels that we also want to use for propulsion, because sometimes, at least here in Norway and Scandinavia, there's sometimes quite slippery roads, and not only on flat roads, you have slippery roads on hilly terrain. So you really need two-wheel traction, maybe a four-wheeler in four-wheel drive in the future. But we needed to bring the energy into two rear wheels. And we also needed to be compliant with the electric assist regulations in Europe. So we did a small thing, and we actually have a patent on it. And that is, we use one motor, that is the assist motor. And then we have one motor, which is the electronic gear system that is propelled by the pedal generator. So we have two rear motors, and they, together with the third motor acting as a generator, is that consists or makes up our propulsion system with electronics, of course.
Yeah, I was just going to say, now this is starting to get into Tesla territory, it sounds to me like. So you must have some significant computer power to do the we can't get into too many details here, but can you tell us a little bit about the computerized control of these systems? It must be significant.
Yeah, it's three identical motor controllers, and they have different tasks. They are, when they boot up, they understand that, okay, I'm the generator, and the rear wheel understands that I'm the rear wheel controller, and the left one understands I'm the left wheel controller, and they all communicate together with the computer network, and they all play together, and it's fault tolerant. So if one motor doesn't work or the controller is kaput, you are still able to transport yourself and your vehicle. However, you have less power. But now we have increased the available torque so that it shouldn't be any issue even with one driveline out of the system. It's almost like if, airplane technology. And I come from the oil and gas industry, and I've been working a lot with subsea systems, where you wanted to have electronic with very long lifetime. And there we normally make double systems, or systems that are fault tolerant, that can survive even when parts of the electronic is not working correctly.
Okay, really important. Let me, I want to bring up, let's see if we can get Sean. So thank you very much, Sean, for the super chat here. And it's a good question. Maybe this is a good point to bring this in. So Sean is asking about touring. It's a little bit of a segue here into something else, but I think it fits right in here. So you want to make this motor fault tolerant, and you're talking about the battery system. So have you, and you've had some test rides, have you had some thoughts about if people want to take this on long tours? Sean here is talking about maybe 1,200 kilometers. So what are your thoughts on that?
Actually, I just spoke to my wife today that I'm planning a trip which is about this distance this month, and I want to test it out. But this is an e-bike. You need to be able to charge the battery. You cannot really pedal it without electric assist. It's at least not unless it's super flat, because it's too heavy going uphill. And the driveline, even though we have tried to make it efficient, it is much less efficient than a very good chain driven bike. So you sacrifice the flexibility and the lack of mechanical complexity with more total power consumption in the driveline, or you produce more heat in the conversion from mechanical to electrical and back to mechanical again. That said, we think that the Podbike velomobile is more have better air drag coefficient. So the total energy consumption compared to a regular bike should be about the same at the average speed of an e-bike in Europe, which is 25 kilometers per hour is the maximum assist level, and then you allow 10% deviation. So 27.5 is the absolute maximum top speed, and then that typically ends up with the average speed around 22 to 25 somewhere. And with this, within that speed range, we believe we should have about the same energy consumption as a regular bike. However, if you go to the North America, where they allow 20 miles or 32 kilometers per hour in max assist speed, actually the efficiency improves, since air drag is so much more dependent on speed than everything else. So, okay, it's a little bit.
So the faster you go, then the more efficient it becomes,
yes,
at least
exactly.
Aerodynamically is what you're saying.
Compared to a regular bike. Of course, right. Compared to these high-speed velomobiles, we will lose.
Right.
If you really want to go super fast, no Podbike for you. You have to choose something else made by brilliant craftsmanship in these small workshops around.
Right. Well, anybody that has multiple bikes or trikes, and most of our, I would say many, if not most of our viewers do, we all know that you use the right bike for the right ride, the right tool for the right job. So
exactly,
and that's what we're talking about. So,
and our target, that is to get rid of cars. Here's bilar. That is the Scandinavian word for cars. And that is our target. We don't want to get rid of these.
You're going to consume the cars until they're gone. And just we don't want to belabor this too much, but we did have a chat earlier, and we talked about where you live there in Norway is a huge oil and gas headquarters for the oil and gas industry there in Norway. So you are in an unfriendly territory there as far as that goes. And I know there's a lot to think about as far as what Norway's doing as far as transitioning to more sustainable resources. So, but let's get back to the pod bike here, or we're going on forever with this. So the e-assist, then we've talked some of it. It is pedelec, max of 25k per hour with assist, and then there's a couple other limits here I wanted to talk to you about. So 50k per hour motor assisted braking kicks in at 50k. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell us about the top end there. What is that about?
Since we have motors always engaged, they have a mechanical limit on how fast they can spin, which is around 70-80 kilometers per hour, because of the They're geared up with the belt. They have a small pulley on the motor shaft, and there's a big pulley on the wheel. So of course the motor spins much faster than the wheel. That way we can have very high torque on the wheels without having very high torque motors, which results in a lot of mass needed for magnets and windings, etc. So there is a mechanical limit, and to avoid exploding the motors, they will not explode. They will just block the rotor, but it's unpleasant. You don't want that. You block your rear wheel, and then the motor doesn't work anymore. So to avoid that, there is a limit, soft limit. So when you pedal, you will be able to pedal up to around 45 or something, and then the efficiency of the motor goes so much down, then you really cannot put more power into the motor.
Okay.
But if you're going very fast, when you pass around 50, the motor is used as a generator to help keep the speed down. And if you pass around 55 or something, you will get a nasty voice on the internal speaker, because we have a voice feedback system or a sound feedback system. And so you don't need to have a screen. There's actually no dashboard, no display on the bike itself as standard. You use your smartphone and a special Podbike app to have as a dashboard with speed info, battery info, etc., and to do some fine tuning of the user interface or what have you not. And then of course you will have information, and there will probably be some flashing. The app is not finished yet, or the production version of the app is not finished. We have some pre-releases, and the user will be informed that you are now going so fast that you really need to brake. But if you do not follow the instruction on the screen, then the speaker will start to blare at you.
So it will increase the sound louder and louder until you have to stop because it's too loud. I love that. All right. Mile High Triker, Greg wants to know what is pedelec. I guess we should have defined that. Can you tell the folks what pedelec means?
Yeah, pedelec is a special kind of e-bikes where you have no throttle. You only have pedals which are normally directly connected to the wheel. Plus, they have a sensor that detects at least motion. And most pedelecs today, they also have a torque sensing function. So the assist is controlled with your legs by the way you pedal, and not by any throttle. However, you normally have assist level control on the dashboard or on your handlebar. So you can push plus up to the maximum assist, and then you can push minus or down to zero assist.
All right, and let's finish up here with the power propulsion system. Michael Smith wants to know, do you have regen? I mean, most e-assists have some sort of regen. Is that worked into the pod bike?
Yes, we have a full regen in the rear wheels. They are the motors in the rear. They're always mechanically connected to the wheels. So the motor acts as a generator when you pedal backwards. So that is the way you control regeneration or recuperation. And if you go downhill, you can pedal slowly backwards and maintain constant speed going downhill until the battery is full. Then you get a warning, and you'll get a pre-warning and say that the regeneration will soon cease to exist or cease to work because the battery is full.
Very good. All right.
That's also challenging if you start with a full battery and you start top of a hill, and you want to go down, and you want to use the recuperation function. You have the same warning in electric cars. If you charge your electric car to full and go downhill, you will get a warning that the electric braking is not functioning at maximum level.
Okay, very good. All right, well, let's leave the motor now and go to another part of what makes this pod bike, you hope, more attractive to the average person, and those are some of the comfort features. So we've talked little bit about this. Let's talk first of all about some weather protection. What can you describe the weather protection Podbike provides?
Yes, it has full weather protection. That means that it's a fully closed coupe with a lot of ventilation. There's an optional electric blower, which is quite powerful. It provides about 80 liters of air per second. And then we have a very powerful blower, which provides 180 liters of air per second. And those, of course, takes battery power. So you need a larger battery if you use the blower a lot. And then we have a passive ventilation. There's the air inlet around the front cone, the black part when you look on the pictures of the bike, and the air goes underneath the white bonnet and enters ventilation openings just underneath the canopy in the front. And then there are air vents in the rear, just up with the where the roof ends on the rear edge, because that is what gives least turbulence. And then we have the possibility of riding with the canopy semi-closed, so it has at least one ventilation opening. We're still working on improving the door locks there, so the door locks will have at least one ventilation opening, maybe two, so you can have extra air going through the cabin. And then the other weather protection you have is that you are there are rubber gaskets all around, and they also makes it possible for us to pressurize the cabin a little bit, slightly bit, so we can actually make sure that all the air that goes in come from the very powerful blower. And the idea is that we want to provide that with a HEPA filter, so you can sit inside the cabin. Even if you have asthma or you are allergic to pollen, etc., you should have a livable environment in a bike. And we think that is a huge benefit. And also with this corona issue, a HEPA filter will reduce the amount of virus entering this ventilator.
Right, plus the air. Positive pressure from the inside, of course, that would help to keep things going out instead of anything coming in. Interesting.
But it will take power. So if you have examined the Tesla Model X, their HEPA filter, it's so huge, and that's because they drag so much air through it. We do not have so much power, so we cannot have that size of filter, but we want to provide something that at least reduces the amount of pollen or dust entering the cabin, because it's quite dangerous, especially the particle emissions from diesel engines. They are quite nasty. So having such a filter should be helpful.
Okay. And the last thing I have on the list here, we haven't talked about it, and it is weather. It has to do with the sun. And I know we've had a number of questions already, like these people are in Arizona and other hot areas. And you've talked about the ventilation, which is important. But how about that plastic clear canopy that's overhead, sunbeating down? What else can you do to help prevent?
I know about this. I calculate that in 2013 when I did the master. There's a long section about how to avoid being overcooked inside the cabin, and you really can't get all the energy out unless you start filtering. So the first thing we do is that we apply a coating to the plastic, which gives you a UV filtering and also hard coating that makes the windscreen wiper blade not wear the surface so fast. Another thing is that we want to use a plastic which has a built-in filter, what's called the solar control, that reduces the energy entering into the cabin with as much as 50% if everything is done right. At least 40% is the current target, and that will of course help. And then we want to offer shade that you can pull over your head, and will prevent direct sun onto your body, and at least most of your body. And it's the same as you have on you've probably seen it on buses and lorries, that they have rather big shades they can pull down. So we will have some telescopic that goes out underneath the skylight, and that is the fixed window, roof window in behind the cyclist seat. On the telescopic shade will come out just under there.
All right, very good. Now let's kind of go through a few things. We have really touched on some of these. We have a few videos to help describe some of the things we've talked about. You talked about the safety factor and the four wheels to help with stability and rollover protection, and we also talked a little bit about this kind of incidentally having to do with aerodynamics as well, and part of the testing that you've done, which has to do with side winds, which might be of some concern. So Larry, if you're ready to play the plane prop wash video, let's do that. And if you want to talk over it, that's fine. If not, we'll just wait to the end.
This is quite important to know that the bike is stable in side wind, and you can see it's okay. It's easy to see at least the regular bike struggles in side wind. This is about 100 horsepower airplane engine, and it was going at almost full throttle there.
Right. You could see that the upright bike got blown way off to the side, and the pod bike seemed to go right through. So that was kind of interesting. All right. Let's also, now you've talked about the cargo containing, or the cargo capacity, I should say, and you can add a child to it. We also have we have a little video here of a child in a pod bike. So Larry, when you're ready, let's see riding through the fountains.
Okay, Stella, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Here we go.
This is one of the test riders. That is actually the first bike delivered with the child seat.
Per, you can slide over to the side so you can look like you're watching it here. That's an odd shaped video, but
yeah.
There you go.
Okay, one more time.
Whee! Does look like there's plenty of room back there for her, and
yeah, the child seat goes up to about 6 years, 22 kilos. That is actually the test requirement, up to 22 kilos. However, we think that we should be able to make our own child seat. It's the child seat we use now is made for regular bikes, so it's much more protected than it needs to be in our vehicle, because we have so much protection already.
Protection already, yeah. All right, and then one more video that I think kind of sums up a lot of what we've talked about. This is the handlebar controls. Larry, when you're ready, let's go ahead and see that. It'll show you some of the things that Per has talked about. The handlebar controls video, please.
Hey, welcome to a little tutorial on the handlebars with the pod bike. I'll also show the various buttons and functions that are related to it. If you move the handlebar forward and to the right, the wheel will do the same. Same when you go backwards and to the left. If you move the handlebar down, I'll have easier access to get out of the bike when I need to. To start the bike, you hold in a button for 3 seconds, so you hear that noise. The low beam lights will automatically be on when you start the pod bike. Then in the front, we have a little ring bell. For the blower in front, you push this top button forward, and then you keep pushing it forward to increase the velocity. Then you release it. Until it stops. Then, for left side, we have brakes on both sides of the handlebar. This brake will do the back wheels, while the right brake will do the front wheels. On this brake, we also have a parking brake that if you push in this button here, it will stay and allow you to get out of the vehicle quite easily. And then just to release it, you do such. This top button here is for indicating. So if I take it to the left, as such, I'll be indicating to the left. And if I want to indicate to the right, I turn to the right. Then click it once to switch it off. Then, if I hold it in for 3 seconds, I'll put on the emergency lights, and if I were to click the button again, I'll turn them off. Then, you have the button in front here, puts on the high beam up front. As you can see, there's a blue light to show that the high beam is on. Then, if I click it again, I go back to low beam. To switch off the bike, you hold in this top button here for about 3 seconds until you hear that noise.
All right, that's great. You can really hear the motors of the air getting pushed through.
Yep.
For the ventilation.
That was a small blower.
That was a small one. So, all right,
Yeah.
let's go take a little pause here and see if there's quite a few questions on here. We can't go through all of them, but let's see. I don't think we touched on this. How about the brakes specifically, Per? What kind of brakes?
Yep. There are disc brakes, all four. Hydraulic in the front because of the improved balance, and mechanical in the rear because we use that also for parking brake.
Okay. And so you addressed this to some extent, talking about the vehicle being able to be elevated and lowered. But in general, what about the visibility? Have you looked at that in terms of visibility in traffic?
Yep. Yes. That has there is some chapter in my master thesis about visibility, and that is something we have had a great focus on. We use a lot of resources on developing our own external lights, which will make the vehicle very visible. There is also huge real estate for adding contrasting colors to the vehicle, and it is very easy to see in traffic. There are some pictures of the vehicle in mixed with other bikes, and you will see the pod bikes so much easier than the other bikes.
Very good. All right, a couple of things I will say. First of all, yes, of course, Podbike has a website, and that will be listed in the show notes below, as well as we've kept mentioning Per's master's thesis that we've been referring back to, and there's a wonderful PDF with his actual thesis there that will be listed as well separately, although I think you can find it on the website as well. So if you're interested in some of these details, really, as Per said earlier, really interesting reading, so don't forget to do that. So yeah, those will be listed in the show notes. We also had, here we go, the angle of the seat. Can you talk to us about the angle, the hip joint and bottom bracket angle there?
Yeah, I don't have them from the top of my head. I can show them on the pad. Shall I turn that on and do
well,
route?
you know what? Let's folks, I guess here's what I'll say. So we're going to have a few more minutes here with Per as we finish up. When he is done, you might have noticed that his assistant Janet has been on chat, and I'm guessing she'll probably stay on there. Maybe Per will as well. So you can continue to ask your questions if we haven't covered them during this interview, and they will be able to address those even after he's gone. So let's do that for that question, the seat angle, and we'll get that answer to you. Here, another good one. What material, you might have mentioned this a little bit earlier. Can you give us a little bit better idea about the material used?
Yeah, the structural parts are 99% aluminium, and the remaining parts, that is mainly the rollover protection and shafts, they are made of steel, stainless steel, some, and high strength alloyed carbon steel for the shafts.
Very good.
And the body is made out of thermoplastic ABS with a thin layer of acrylic, because the acrylic is sun resistant, or it keeps the color better than most other plastics, and that's what is normally used on car parts.
And it's really interesting. I remember from your thesis, and you mentioned a little bit earlier about trying to keep as much of the materials that go into the pod bike recyclable as possible. Yes?
That is main selection criteria. We do not use any carbon fiber. We try to use a little bit just for the fanciness. But when you start looking at the energy consumption making carbon fiber, it is a drag, and the worst thing is that you can't really reuse it without degrading it quite a lot. So if you really want to make a vehicle like this that is as sustainable as possible, since we targeting high volume, we want to make millions of pod bike velomobiles, and we cannot do that if we had to use a lot of carbon fiber, and also it's quite expensive.
So it's a trade-off, of course, as everything is when you do something like this. All right, let's get into some details here about pricing and availability and such. You mentioned a price earlier, a target price. So tell us as it comes to market. Well, maybe we should start with that. How about the availability? So tell us where you are right now in terms of pre-production, production, and where you see the timing coming that it will be available widely, say in Europe and then in the USA. Give us a timeline, if you would, for that.
Yeah, the current work we're doing now is to finalize the production documentation. And we have already made the first parts for the series production. We are doing a pre-series of 10 bikes that will be used for final product certification and for training our partners in production. And those bikes, hopefully we will have the first bikes ready end of this year of this pre-series, and then we will have the first real mass-produced bikes in, I hope to say March in this 2021, March 2021.
Right. And of course, we have a worldwide pandemic to deal with. We haven't mentioned really. And of course, that's going to have something to do with those timelines, I'm sure. But that's thank you for at least putting some parameters around that. All right. Now, how about the pricing? So, and I know there's going to be all kinds of choices and such, but can you give us an idea about the pricing?
Yeah, the prices they should be around 5,000 euros for the base price, and then you will have to cover the transport cost because in the beginning we will not sell it via dealers. We will sell it direct as a mail order product, and there is some assembly required. We estimate between 5 to 10 hours, so it's nothing like the my velomobile kit, which took me 4 months, and we hope to have a dealership within 12 to 18 months. We should have dealers in the most important markets.
Can I follow up on that just a little bit, Per? So what sort of dealers would these be? Would this just be a pod bike dealer? Are these bicycle dealers, car dealers? What's the nature of this dealer model, this dealership model?
We have been approached by many who wants to sell our products, and I really can't tell you because we have not written any agreements with anyone yet. But there are some very interesting partners out there who would be just perfect for selling the pod bike.
Okay, that's a good enough hint, I guess. Now, my next question has to do with testing this out. So if I'm interested in a pod bike, well, first of all, I better live in Europe somewhere. But for now, let's say I live in Berlin and I'm interested in a pod bike. So since it's only online now, how do I get a chance to test ride this? I mean, this must be tricky right now, but what would you suggest?
we really there we have to complain about this virus thing. We had planned a road trip in Germany this fall, and everything was set up to do that, and we had great agreements with companies who would lend us area for demonstrating the vehicles. However, we just had to cancel it because of the travel restrictions in the current situation. But we hope to, as soon as the limitations are lifted, we are ready to take a road trip and demonstrate the vehicle for those who really want to try before they buy.
Okay, that makes sense. And then until that dealer network actually comes to fruition, and then of course, I guess you'll hopefully have people able to go to these dealers and actually at their leisure take a pod bike out and test it out. So that is perfect. All right, let's finish off by stepping into the future. Now, see, you have an advantage. You've had a snack already. You use the ruse of talking about consuming automobiles, and you got a nice snack, and I have to wait till the show's over. So I think that was really smart of you, Per. But let's talk about the future here. What are some of the ideas that you are thinking of for future development of the pod bike?
Yeah. First of all, we want to get the current version out. That's very important. And we want as many customers as possible on the first edition. And then we will make improvements. We will offer conversion kits. There's one thing that I really want to offer, and that is a off-road conversion kit. Where you have longer suspension arms. It will be slightly wider, but it will allow you to go in more uneven terrain than the current version, and also higher, deeper snow. The current one is made mainly for asphalt road use, and not so much for deep tracked gravel roads. And then we have another kit or option that we want to have ready as soon as possible, and that is the garage, where you can park up to 4 bikes in a carousel. And we hope to combine that with a self-driving functionality, where the vehicle can drive empty when there's no one inside at up to 6 km/h, and find its way to this garage. And in the future, we also want to offer a shared mobility version, where you can actually kind of subscribe to a pod bike as one of the transport modes you can choose among. And you choose that the day there is rain or snow, and it will come to you, and you would step in. And when you finish the journey, you just leave it, and it goes to its closest collection point or charging point by itself. And then we also would like to add solar cells to the canopy, organic coated solar cells, and it's simply too early for that. They are too expensive and don't last long enough to offer it yet. But that is some of the ways we want to go. And of course, we would like to work together with someone who can make a nice trailer that would be very well adapted to the pod bike, and we also want to be able to offer an attachment option, where you can attach long things like fishing rods, skis, etc., that you want to bring along with your bike.
Wow. Okay. So so self-parking summons mode. Now this is starting to sound like Tesla, and I'm wondering, can an autonomous mode be far behind when you start talking like that?
Yeah, if you read my master thesis, I'm saying that I think I wrote that we could make a version where, for instance, you run a company, and you can send out a Podbike velomobile in autonomous mode, and it can wait let's say at the traffic point for public transport, and then someone with the correct code or correct mobile phone can open the vehicle, they can enter it, and they can pedal, and then it will guide you directly to where you're supposed to be. And when you leave the vehicle, it can go on and pick up another one, or it can bring goods for you. Of course, you can use this the way you can use an autonomous car, but it's 80 kilos, not 1800 kilos. The energy consumption is between 5 and 10 watt-hour per kilometer. It's so much less. So so much more sustainable.
Right. And of course, most of the needs for people picking things up, that would probably cover most of the cargo necessary to go pick something up for the vast majority of trips.
Yes, and there's a huge benefit of having a lightweight autonomous vehicle. That is the minimized risk of damaging persons and creating catastrophic accidents. Because here you have minimal mass. So the energy, even if you run at the 6 km/h maximum self-driving speed that is, we believe is currently allowed for this type of vehicles, you can't. It's very hard for you to run to bump over a person at that speed, and it's round and it's soft plastic on the outside. It's so much nicer to be hit by a Podbike velomobile than to be hit by a car.
Right. I don't know if that needs to be your slogan, but I understand where you're going with that. Yeah, I'd rather be hit by a Podbike. Probably doesn't belong on.
No.
But I know what you're saying. That makes great sense. All right. We're getting really close to the end here, but I don't want to leave without addressing our North American viewers, and who are, many of whom are probably drooling at this point from what they've heard, and they've also heard that right now pod bikes are not in their immediate future. But Per, if you could address your thoughts about timing for when that might happen, and I know you're concerned about some issues with regulations and legal status. Can you address that for us?
Yeah, first I will say that as soon as we have delivered those pre-ordered bikes to the customers, we will start shipping all over the world, and that means also to North America. But as a kit, some assembly required, but batteries included. And there will be some challenges in some states in the US because there are regulations which says that electric bikes can only have 2 or 3 wheels. The same is the case in Canada. You are allowed to have maximum 3 functional wheels. I don't understand the logic behind this regulation. And someone needs to do something about it. And in the meantime, at least in Canada, you're allowed to bring a bike to and have it accepted on individual basis. When you show that this is a bike, it does not work without you pedaling, and it can't go faster than, let's say, 20 miles with electric assist. And I don't know the full complexity of regulations in the States, but I know that in some jurisdictions, you will be allowed to use the pod bike as it is, even even with 4 wheels. But in some, you will not. I know that in the past.
Let me, if I can. I hate to belabor this, but it's kind of important, and it has a lot to do with what you want to do. And I know our viewers are interested. Doug, if you are with us, Larry, can you pop Doug up on the screen? We have our resident expert on all things velomobile, 3 and 4 wheels, Doug Davis.
There is such a thing as an expert in this.
Well, yeah, I know it's all fluid, but Doug, we can't take a half an hour for this, but could you help us and help Per understand what, at least in the States, you may not know a lot about the Canadian rules, but tell us about the 3 and 4 wheel thing and the e-assist thing here in the States.
I don't want to do a history lesson on the 3 and 4 wheel things, but I know exactly what it is. I can talk to Per about it later. But about half the states, from what I can think through, of this thing would be legal to operate as an e-bike. There's about 3 or 4 states it would be illegal to operate it as is. and maybe the other half right now has some kind of limitation. And it's the U.S. has a mishmash of conflicting regulations when it comes to e-bikes. We've been through this on the show a couple of times. I've been involved in some lobbying efforts that are changing this again. Some of them have proceeded. A lot of them have died the COVID death because the lobbyists don't want to go to work or can't go to work because they're concentrating on other things. But I think we'll see some movement here next year. What I would say is that everything is gray in this space. It's not really well spelled out because, as everybody knows, you can buy a kid's electric bike that has 4 wheels on it and a little push button throttle that the kids can get at any discount store out there, and those are legal. So if you understand that, you can kind of understand the mishmash of the problems in the U.S. But I think time and evolution will work our way through them.
All right. Thank you, Doug. And yeah, Doug is a good reference to learn about some stuff. He knows all about this. So make sure you guys are connected, or I will make sure that you are at some point. So, all right. Great. I think at that point, we're going to probably leave it this time. As I told you in our previous conversations, this is so interesting and there's so much going on, and we are all going to be very closely following what's going on with the pod bike. So I hope at some future time, after things are out and you start going to production, we can have you back on the Laidback Bike Report and give us an update and see what's going on. Is that something you would be interested in doing?
Yes, of course. And another thing is that I assume or hope that Spezi will be back next year, and we will certainly be there if it's open. And then you can have a ride in it if you come to Spezi.
Oh, that's an invitation I will take you up on for sure. And if they're there, we will be there as well. So, any final thoughts?
For me,
yeah. So we're going to close it out here. I just want to give you the last opportunity.
I would say that for anyone who wants to make a velomobile, well, think really hard on it a few days before you start. I thought that it would take a couple of years, 2 years maybe, because I'm really good at engineering. I've been doing this for many years, and I know power electronics and mechanics and computers and stuff. And this has been absolutely toughest task I ever worked on. It's much harder than high temperature power electronics downhole. It's much harder than titanium canister filled with multi-phase meter electronics. It's so darn hard because it's so limited. You have constraints on cost, weight, people acceptance, and regulations, and German light requirements. They are awful. So but if you really want to have struggle, if you really want to work hard, then come and join us. We're looking for good people.
All right. So yeah, not only an offer to buy Podbike when it's ready, but come work as they expand. So great. Per, it's been a delight having you on. It's been a pleasure actually meeting you, and look forward to talking to you again in the future. Thank you so much for practicing with me ahead of time and getting this all worked out. It's really been fun for me, and I hope for the audience as well. So you and Janet, thank you so much too. You're in there. So Per Hassel Sorenson, thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. So let's move along to our good buddy Larry Varney. Larry, are you there?
I'm here.
Bring him on up there.
Here I am.
All right, pal. Let's go ahead and thank you for offering to share this review with us. And Larry's going to take it away. The Ice Ultimate collection. This is the Sprint X, I think. Yes.
Well, this is a Sprint X Tour, because they do have a Sprint X, which is similar, of course. Oh, and by the way, if anybody sees the train coming, let me know. I'll get out of the way. But what Ice has done with all their various strikes is built up the Ultimate collection, and they picked the various components and accessories and so on that would be best for what they see as the purpose for that model. So you've got the VTX, you got the full fat, And the Sprint X Tour, you can imagine what they wanted was the ultimate touring trike. And I think if they haven't succeeded, they come awfully darn close, because it's really got everything that most people that tour want. And it really comes down to one of the big things is comfort. And people say, well, I've sat on some and all that, and is this any different, and so on. Well, yeah. I'll go over some of the little obvious things here. In some of the pictures, you'll see them more closely. The seat, I always advise anybody who's looking at it, any recumbent trike or two-wheeler or whatever, sit on it at least. See if it feels comfortable or not. Is the angle of recline and so on. Again, the Sprint X Tour has a variable recline angle, so you can change a little bit and all that. But that seat material is the Ergolux, they call it, and it really is. That thing, and previous seat materials were great too, but this one is even more so. So you sit on that thing, and the first thing you'll notice is that you're smiling. You haven't even started pedaling yet, but you're smiling because it's so comfortable. I've had a couple of friends, so you can see on that seat there a little better how it looks, but one friend, his wife wanted to sit on it, and I think within a couple of weeks she had sent away and bought the seat to put on her iSprint. So I'm just surprised she didn't buy the whole trike. But anyway, as you can see in that picture there, you can see the seat. It's super comfortable. And then the other things that make it the ultimate touring comfortable trike, got full suspension. It's got electric assist, the Shimano Steps E8000. It also has electric assisted shifting. Not so much that it doesn't shift for you. I really don't like something that shifts for me. I've tried some of those. But this one, you don't have to flip any little levers or anything. It's got some push buttons. You push the button and it'll go up, or you push the button and it'll go down. It's got 11 speeds, only a rear derailleur, doesn't have front derailleur. And it's more than adequate for any kind of hills and stuff that should go up. But you just push on that button and it shifts. So it's, everything is, comfortable, easy. And that picture there that you're looking at right now, you can see, I started to use my mouse to point at things. You couldn't see it. It tells you how fast you're going. It tells you approximately how much more distance you've got at that battery setting. By the way, the Shimano Step system had 3 levels, 4 if you want to count off. But it has the Eco for economical mode. And for flat ground, that's really all you need. It has Trail, which is just a little bit more assist than the Eco mode. But then the third one is Boost. And that is really, you can't help but feel like somebody has just shoved you from behind. You start going a lot faster. I always tell people on flat ground, if I'm starting out from a dead stop, if I run across a busy street with traffic and all that at a stoplight, I'll put that thing in that boost mode, and you get up to speed very quickly, and then you can shift back down to eco mode and just just ride right along. And by the way, this isn't a throttle. You do have to pedal. It's E-assist. It isn't E completely in command. Oh, one thing this picture here does show that I wanted to mention, the tires are also in this ultimate collection. This is the Marathon Plus 70 PSI. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been on a tire that used that little amount of air, but it makes it even more comfortable. But one bad thing about having fatter tires like that, it doesn't fold quite as neatly as it would. And so, it's kind of like, it still folds, but it doesn't go down between the 2 front wheels when you fold it up. It's a kind of a pain, but not a horrible one. Oh, and you'll see in this picture here too, that rear rack attachment on the top of it, where you can put your any kind of a bag on the top. Some people said, "Oh, isn't that a little unstable? It's going to shake back and forth." Well, don't overdo it. I mean, you've got pannier attachments down below. So if you want to carry a lot of stuff, put it in some panniers. That top bag, just for your essentials that you might want to get to in a hurry or something like that. Bag that you see that I'm touching there is an Arkell Tail Rider. I can't see going on many tours or even just around town without that tail rider. It's become almost like an attachment to me. I even told them when I first had one that if they made it bigger, I'd want to be buried in one. So, definitely look into those. But also another thing, see the bags down there, down by my knees that are attached to the seat?
Yeah.
Those are their new version of the side pods. And what's really neat about it, they don't attach to each other. They attach to the seat, and right here you can see better that there are little clips up there along the side of the seat where they basically just clip on, but then on the back you see that crossbar going across. It has some big clamping like plastic things that hold it more firmly back there, so they're easy to get on and off. They don't have a strap running across or under the seat. You can use one or both. In some ways, for most of us, if we're not going on a big tour, we don't even need the rear panniers. Those bags are big enough to carry almost anything we possibly need on any kind of a ride. So I was really impressed with those new ice pods, those seat pods or side pods. I really like them. Also in this picture, talking about comfort and so on, you can see the wrist rest there in the upper left. When I first tried out one of those a couple of years ago, I thought, oh, do I really need a wrist rest? I mean, it's not like my arms are falling asleep or anything, but it really does add to the comfort. Your hands are right in position to handle the brakes, disc brakes front and rear too. It really is a welcome addition. It's not what I'd call essential, but it really is nice. So, it's they wanted to give you the ultimate stuff. One more thing. And the rear back there behind the seat, you can see what appears to be the flagpole going up. And that's what it is. Instead of having to poke it down through a hole in the seat tube and all that, it actually mounts to the crossbar again. And you can stick your flagpole into that, and you can vary the angle. You can have it more straight up and down, more reclined. So it doesn't depend on the recline angle of the seat. You can change it. You can have the flag higher.
That's part of the Ergolux.
No, it's an additional accessory that you need to add. And to me, that's one of those things that had I not seen it, I would probably thought, no, I don't need that. But
yeah, Trey, could you go back to that shot of Larry with the cabin, with the high rear rack? Joseph Janning is asking, and this has come up before. You were talking about it's not a significant problem, but I guess the question would be to Ice. But I know you. Yeah, why is it so high? What's the reason?
Short people have a problem. No, I'm not going to make fun of short people. What it is,
you just did, I think. But.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just found out that since I was younger, I've shrunk 2 inches over the past several decades. So
you see,
I'm becoming a short person.
Yeah.
But the reason that thing sits so high is because it has rear suspension. And if it sat lower, there'd be the chance that as you went up and down, because it doesn't go up and down. The rack stays steady. It's the wheel that goes up and down. So you don't want it bashing into the underside of that rack. So that's why it's so high.
It's about clearance. Oh, yeah, it's great. Thank you.
And the way you can see with the headrest there, and it's a redesigned headrest, more comfortable than before. Everything is more comfortable. Where my head is, because that headrest is more aptly called a neck rest, my neck is there. So my head is in front of that bag. So it's not obscuring my view at all. I've got mirrors on both left and right of that thing. And when you look in the mirrors, you can't even see that bag. So some people say, oh, it's going to get in your way. You can't see what's behind you. Yes, you can.
Yeah, and you could see a train coming clearly, even if it was coming down there. So
as long as you're awake and, don't fall asleep and so on.
Very good. All right. Is that it, Larry? Anything else?
Well, let's see. I think anything else. Let's see. The seat's comfortable. It's got full suspension. Oh, the e-assist. Some people have asked me, well, how fast can I go? And I've already said it's not a throttle. You had to pedal. But the effort that I would normally put in to say go 10 miles per hour, I'm going 15, or even if I'm in the boost mode, I'm going 20. So it's, in the eco mode, which you're saving on battery and you probably on flat ground, and if you're not carrying a whole bunch of stuff on hills and stuff, you probably get maybe as much as 70 miles on it. It'll be less if you're up in the boost mode and you're on hills and everything. But the idea that suddenly you've got this reduction in effort and you're going along at a pretty good clip. I mean, you find yourself in eco mode, pedaling along, not even breathing very hard, and you're doing 15 miles per hour. It's like suddenly you're 18 again. Or something like that. I've often said that this thing is so comfortable, and the e-assist is so nice that if it had Wi-Fi in a bathroom, I'd never get off of it, and that's almost true. So,
well, let's just leave it there then. Larry, any hints as to what we want you back for another review? What's coming up next? Can you give us an idea?
That brings up one of the things that some people have asked me about. Some people have noticed that out on Facebook, I put this trike up for sale, and they say, if you really like it so much, why are you selling it? Well, the fact is, I've got limited space. I need the room.
Well, here's Joseph Janning. He's looks like he's getting ready to buy.
Okay.
Tell us what your price is, and do you know what the pricing is from ICE for new ones? I'm sure you're gonna contrast those right now. Let's hear it.
The base price, I'm looking at their ad, and that's without possibly some of the essentials. It's from $9,363. Now, mine had a couple of things, like I bought the extra mirror. I got the various things that maybe weren't on there before. Oh yeah, it's got a nice bottle thing. But anyway, with the shipping over the United States and all that, it was like $10,250. So, that's a lot of money. But if you can afford it and you're looking for the ultimate comfortable trike with e-assist and everything, I mean, it's really great. So, I mean, like I said, the only reason I'm selling it is because I need the room, because I'm getting more bikes and trikes in. I just got one fairly recently, the Greenspeed GT20 with rear suspension, and I could go rave about that because I've been riding that the last several days.
So that might be the next one then.
I think
Would
so.
that be the next review we might see?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
We'll look forward to having that. So Larry, I'm going to say thank you. Get the ICE off the tracks if you want to sell it before it gets crushed. There you go.
For some people who have made noises when they see my pictures on this track, I like perspective. I like railroad tracks on it. Rarely does a train come up and down these tracks, and there's straight line there. I could hear them from a long way, so I'm not endangering myself. I'm not endangering the trike. Everything I've got has to have its turn taking that picture taken there. So anyway,
that's a relief to hear.
Yeah.
Larry, thank you so much. Larry Varney, folks, we appreciate it. We will see you soon, pal. All right. Let's move along to the sports report with sports director Denny Voorhees. Denny, unmute yourself and come on up here. There we go. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Okay, so
make one comment. If Larry shrinks down even further, he's possibly another career as a garden gnome.
Yes, I mean, he's got the look. There's no doubt about that.
One of those generic looks,
All right. So as we talked about earlier, you have a report. There's not a whole lot that's been going on, of course, in the sports racing, ultra racing and such, but you do have a report about the Hoodoo 500. So let's hear it.
Yeah, the Hoodoo 500 is a stage race, or this part of the Hoodoo 500. Actually, the Hoodoo 500 is a bunch of races, and it starts and ends in St. George's, Utah. The coral pink sand dunes course is a complete loop. No part of the course is repeated. And that's a 500, and I think it's 510 miles. No, 511 coming up. The stage race consists of 3 back-to-back days of starting at 7 a.m. each day. The race is 511 miles long, 30,864 feet of climbing. Stage 1, the first day is 187 miles, 11,576 feet. Stage 2 is 171 miles, almost 11,000 feet of climbing, and stage 3 is 154 miles with over 8,000 feet of climbing. Bill, this is Bill's space report from Acadia, California. His crew was Sandy Earl, and he was riding a Schlitter Freestyle. This is from Bill's race report. This is the first stage race I've ever competed in my first time at the Hoodoo. By the way, the Hoodoo is in St. George's, Utah, northern part of, just on the southern part of Utah and northern part of Nevada. The race directors made some COVID-19 rules that racers and crews had to follow, and the race was well organized. Stage 1, I started the race with my Garmin and my goal power numbers, as I have been training with power since the beginning of the year. riding on and off, doing lots of climbing and heat. I tried out my new ice vest, frozen gel packs, and it worked well. There were some very steep climbs, and I made it to Escalante, the end of stage 1 after dark. I promptly started my recovery routine for the next day with Sandy's help. You have to eat and hydrate all the way in, and then get some protein, carbs, and hydration started after you finish to help your body recover as much as it can before the start of the next day. That's very good advice right there. We had food and water next to the bed, so every time I woke up, I ate and drank something. Stage 2, the race started without my Garmin. It was being charged, and there were more hard hills and then a desert rainstorm. The weather prediction for the race was sunny. Coming off one climb, there was a 10% grade, but it was raining, the roads were wet, and there was some wind, so I took it a little easy. On a very short and flat, another descent, this time it was at 8%, and the road was completely dry. I was much faster on the 8% than the 10%. And after working through the hard hills, I finally hit some inclines. After 70 miles, 100 miles to go, the last miles were steady incline up to Panquitch, and the incline just plain wears out your legs. Again, I made it after dark. So I'm the Lantern Rouge for all divisions after stage 1 and stage 2. Solid last place overall. The Garmin is ready, but we decided that the numbers might be too depressing, so we kept the Garmin off. At the start of the race, I drifted off to the back of the pack, determined just to stay in there and finish. But after a bit, I passed one rider, then another, and then more. I start seeing crew vehicles that I normally don't see on the course. I'm actually passing riders on the hills. I make my way back up the pack, feeling strong and hungry for a chili dog. Sandy made it happen. I don't even know how the last time I ate a hot dog, but my body was craving it. Bill, I got to say, never underestimate the power of a roller dog. So there I was. There is always one more hill on a course and you have never ridden. And on this course, there were headwinds the last day too. I know that I am up towards the front and I keep looking back for riders catching me. This is actually a 3-person pace line behind me, trying to chase me down. The gap I had on them got wider, and when I got to the last traffic light, I see a rider in front of me. There is no sprinting at the finish, but I was able to catch the rider who was riding a solid pace at the finish line arc. I went from Lantern Rouge overall to second place in the 60-plus division and set a recumbent 500 stage race course record during the last stage. I also had the 3rd fastest time for the stage 3 overall, which is pretty darn good. What a finish, and I was so excited and happy to be at the end of it. Sandy, of course, was an excellent crew. We went from crewing a rider in survival mode to crewing a rider in racing awesome mode. She also helped me in training for this event. I was overdoing it, of course, and I got overtraining syndrome. She got me back on track and to the starting line. Sandy, you helped me make it happen. I could have not done it without you. So everyone, stay positive, work hard, make it happen. Thanks, Bill, for your amazing report. I never underestimate the power of a chili dog again. They're roller dogs, actually. I'm a roller dog guy. I followed all 3 days via Spot Tracker. The last day was awesome. Congratulations on sticking in there and making the 3rd day exciting. That's all I have for this month. Remember to stay on the bike and keep moving forward. Back to you, Gary.
All right, Denny, thank you. And congratulations to Bill and Sandy, who, of course, you reported on when she did the NOCOM, right?
They're a dynamic duo. They really take it seriously, and they're fun to be around.
And good friends of the show. We're glad to see them succeed no matter what. So, all right, Denny, thank you. I'm going to follow that up, Denny's report, with I got an email this morning from Jim Parker at Cruise Bike, and he saw that we were going to be doing a report on the current Hoodoo 500, and he wanted to give us a little perspective and history on recumbents there. So here's what he said. Hi, Gary. I heard you're doing a segment on the Hoodoo 500. I just wanted to make sure you knew that in 2015, Cruise Bike V20 racers Maria Parker and Ben Tomlin were the first to ever finish the Hoodoo 500 solo event. And also in 2015, Leif Zimmerman was the first recumbent to finish the Hoodoo 500 solo staged event. He finished in 32 hours and 31 minutes. The course has changed slightly over the years, but it was 8 miles longer in 2015 than it is now. No years are the same, I guess, for a lot of reasons. But Jim says he crewed for Ben that year. What Ben, Maria, and Leif accomplished was amazing, but did not receive much coverage at the time. We weren't even around at the Laidback Bike Report then. It's great that William Spade finished the stage race, but he does comment that 40 hours and 54 minutes, he was about 8 hours slower than Leif at the time that Leif completed it back in 2015. So anyways, thank you, Jim, for letting us know about what Cruise Bike was able to do back in 2015 there. And we reported on it now, though 5 years late. You know, I guess it's not news, but try to bring everybody up to date. So thank you, Jim Parker. All right, guys, time to move on to our sponsors. And let me thank them right now. TerraCycle, from fairings to headrests, whatever accessory you need, Pat and crew have you covered. And Trailside Trikes. If you find yourself in Florida near the Withlacoochee Trail, stop in and see Andrew and his crew. And Cruise Bike. Their patented race and record-proven front-wheel drive geometry changes the rules of cycling. Now, comfort doesn't come at the cost of performance, but fair warning, your cheeks may hurt from smiling. And TerraTrike. Wherever your ride leads, TerraTrike has a trike to take you there, including KMX carts and now Greenspeed, known for performance through innovation. And the Hostel Shop. Established in 1974, the Hostel Shop leads the way in providing recumbent bikes and trikes to cyclists across the nation. With over 4 decades of industry knowledge and cycling expertise, we're more than just another bike shop. All right, guys. All right, a few announcements of note before we leave you today. First of all, I mentioned earlier, this is a big deal for the Laidback Bike Report. BentCon 2020. We are working so hard to put this event together. This is going to be a series of 4 themed webcasts on consecutive weeks. This is going to start, the first one in a couple of weeks, September 20th. And here are the themes and the dates that you see right there. So they'll all be at 2 p.m. Eastern time, as we do all of our webcasts, or pretty much all of them. On September 20th is going to be Buying My First Bent, and we're going to incorporate questions about e-assist as well. On September 27th, Buying a Bent for Touring. On October 4th, we're going to talk about fast or racing recumbents. And on October 11th, we're going to talk about accessories and resources for recumbent bikes. So we'll have all the add-ons and places you can get more information about recumbent bikes and that. So we've got a ton of manufacturers participating, just like this was a real event, though it is going to be virtual, of course. But you can see all the manufacturers that we have participating there, and they're going to come on for 5 minutes and give you guys a pitch in each of those categories and tell you why they think that their particular chosen product is the right one in that category. We're going to have a panel of experts that are independent so that they can help guide us through that process of buying our first bent or buying a touring bent and those things, and what to look for from no matter who the manufacturer is, or maybe you're going to look for something used. We're going to take a look at it from every possible perspective. So we hope you'll join us starting again on September 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern for BentCon 2020. Now, our next regularly scheduled Laidback Bike Report is going to be a few weeks away. It's going to be October 25th after BentCon is over, and our subject for that day will be winning back your health while riding a recumbent. So we have a few interesting guests lined up for you, talking about how they were able to use their bike or trike in a laid back way to recover their health. So some really interesting stories there. Now, again, how can you support the Laidback Bike Report? If you like what we've done today, if you like what we've created in the past, we would appreciate if you'd like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube page. Take a look down here and see if that applause button is down there. If you want to throw a couple bucks our way, that would be great. You can go to right there with a little white eye popping up and go to our website to find out a lot more information about what we do there and ways to support us in that manner, including Patreon. So again, all these pictures here with the orange P on them, these are some of our Patreon supporters. We love these guys. They really help us out by making a monthly pledge for as little as $1 a month. So if you guys are so inclined to support us in that way, that would be great. If not, that's fine too. We just love having you watch us every month and supporting what we do in that manner. So that would be fine as well. So that should just about wrap us up. Let's bring our crew. And if we have any guests left, we can bring them up too, whoever's available. All right, there's the crew. And Peter, sorry, we didn't really didn't get to you too much. And Per, thank you so much again, all the way from Norway. Larry, great job directing, and Trey, thanks, good job on the media, and all our specialty guys there, great job. Larry is trying to get out of the way of the tracks again. Fellas, I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much, all of you. So we will see you guys. We got a lot of work ahead of us here with BentCon, so we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Thanks. All right, folks. So appreciate all of you, of course. So the fact that you watch every week and the fact that you are on the live chat means everything to the hard work that we put into this. It's the most gratifying thing going. So keep doing that. Keep watching us. Keep commenting. And until the next webcast, from all of us here at the Laidback Bike Report, so long, Bent Riders.